All right, welcome class. This is your bedroom makeover design challenge, and I am going to walk you through a PowerPoint that I've actually adapted from a PowerPoint that was found on Teachers Pay Teachers, and it basically gives you a step-to-step guide of drawing using one-point perspective of an interior space. However, I've adapted it for our specific project, and we're going to look at how we can draw a one-point perspective space, and at the same time, your challenge will be to create a design specific for your client and their bedroom disaster. So here's your challenge. You have been hired by a client who has a bedroom disaster. As the interior designer, it is your job to design a new and improved bedroom that complements your client's style and interests. And so in our previous class, you guys each got a scenario with a different client, and every group table shares that same client. You guys are actually competing against each other to make the best bedroom for this particular client. So let's look at the details. In the lesson, you will, 1, review the rules of perspective. Number 2, you're also going to draw an interior space in one-point perspective. That's the basic objective. 3, draw three-dimensional furniture to fill the interior space. You're going to have a bed, a window, and at least a dresser. Those are the basic objects that you'll have to have for your room. Your challenge is competing with your group to design the best room by adding decorative details that fit your client's style and interests. And towards the end, we'll talk about how we're actually going to vote on the best rooms for each client. I will guide you guys step by step, so please do not feel overwhelmed at any point because you will have these resources on our Google Classroom. You can refer back to this PowerPoint at your own pace and time, but during this flipped classroom, I want you to go through this recording and try a sketch of a one-point perspective bedroom so that you'll have enough practice so when we get to the classroom, you'll be able to work on your final drawing. So first, let's review the rules of perspective. Number 1, you must have a vanishing point. Again, the vanishing point represents, it's basically the point where the perspective lines fade into the distance. Everything goes back into space. Number 2, when drawing something that is 3D, you want to start with the side that's facing you. Number 3, when you're drawing lines to the vanishing point, or the VP, you only include those lines that you would see. Rule number 4, always end a shape with lines parallel to your original shape. Rule number 5, and I stress this in class, always sketch lightly because you will need to erase. If you draw very heavy-handed or dark, when you erase, you will still see those lines and it will not look great. To begin, let's draw a rectangle to represent the back wall. Notice that this rectangle shape is actually a lot smaller than your overall paper. The next step is to draw 2 lines that intersect with the corners of your rectangle. You will be using a ruler, of course, with all of your lines, so just angle it to the corners of your rectangle and the edge of the paper. It is okay if your lines don't match up with the corners of the paper, but you definitely want them to match with the corners of your wall. Draw your vanishing point where these lines intersect, and we'll be using this vanishing point to create several objects in the space. And then erase the lines that interrupt the back wall. So our first object we're going to add is a window. Because your window won't have the side that faces us, we start with the vanishing point lines. So anything on the side walls, you definitely have to use your vanishing point. So you're going to take the vanishing point, angle your ruler up to make the top of the window, and angle it down to make the bottom of your window. After that, you simply put 2 vertical lines, and you get to decide how narrow or how wide you'd like your window to be. You can outline that and erase all of the unnecessary converging lines. For the window panels, you're going to make a horizontal line, just using that vanishing point, and a vertical line to make the cross. Next, the next object, we're going to be adding a dresser. It's going to get a little bit more difficult. Begin with the side that faces you, so you're going to basically create a rectangle shape. Make sure that the bottom edge touches the wall and floor line so that it's it's in the right space. Then we're going to add lines, converging lines going back to the vanishing point. You're going to have one line to the top of the rectangle, the side, and the bottom. Almost like we're making the same steps that you use to make a rectangle in 1 point per space. This is the same application that we did in a previous unit. Okay, erase your lines, erase the wall lines. Here's the part where you're going to actually create converging lines that will represent your drawers. So you can just basically take your ruler, angle it with the vanishing point, and every time you make a new dresser line, you basically turn your ruler down and just try to space them out evenly. Okay. Create 2 vertical lines for the sides of your dresser drawers and erase the extra lines. The next step is adding a bed. Okay, so for your bed, we're going to begin with the headboard. We're going to add your converging lines. Notice they meet up with the ends of the rectangle. And I just basically said that. So it's going to meet with the bottom corners of the headboard. Then you're going to take your horizontal lines for the top and the bottom. Decide on how big it's going to be spaced. Erase your unnecessary lines. At the bottom of your bed, and it's just a simple, straightforward rectangle. And then let's start adding some details, and this is going to be a decorative element, so you get to decide on how your bed looks. You can change out the bottom of your bed, the footboards, also the headboard if you want to alter the shape, pillows. You'll start to design all those decorative items based on your client's style. Okay. The next part we're going to do is adding the floorboards. So you're going to use a ruler to mark off points at certain intervals. And for this example, we're using the spacing as you can see it below. It looks like 3 centimeters for each floorboard. And you're just going to make little dashes towards the bottom of your page. Then you're going to take your vanishing point, line it up with the dashes that you made, and just start making straight converging lines coming from your vanishing point. And so again, converging lines means that it comes from one central place, converges out. Okay, erase your lines, and they look like they could be hardwood floors or wood panels. If you wanted to make a checkered floor, you could do the same thing, but just basically having horizontal lines going across and even spaces. And you could have a checkered floor or a tiled floor. And now let's finish up. First, erase all unwanted lines. And again, that reminder of just really drawing super light, so if you need to erase, which you will, you can actually erase and you won't be able to see all those lines. And then the final details, we're adding a few decorative details that fit your client's style and interest. So please go back and refer to your starting paper that has your scenario for your specific client, and it gives you that client's bedroom disaster. Maybe they had a certain color scheme that didn't work for them, or their bed was too small. So now here's your chance to make those alterations. So you're going to think about colors. You're going to think about details in the room. What do they need? What accessories or pieces of furniture do they need that will really fit their personality, their style, and be a true upgrade to the room. Remember, you're competing with other students in your class. So this is the detail part where you separate yourself from everyone else and try to really make it unique and special for your client. And lastly, here's an example of a 1-point bedroom that's colored. This is Vincent van Gogh's bedroom. We know him for a lot of his self-portraits and also his landscapes, but here's an example of his room, and you can see that he's actually incorporating 1-point perspective. But I want you to think about this and consider color schemes. There's some good complementary colors of red and green. There's some orange and blue, some things that kind of pop out. There's personal items that relate to the artist that he's added to his room, even though this is something that was created hundreds of years ago, and you're obviously making contemporary modifications. You can still look at this and get some ideas for coloring, for details and texture. Okay, and then this is just a quick review that you want to go over, and we'll be going over this in class as we move forward and create your final design. So just think about, how does your vanishing point work? When drawing the window, why do we not begin with a regular shape? Number 3, what sort of line did we use to create the floorboards? And number 4, can you actually explain how the decorative details you added fit your client's style and interests? All right, and good luck.